Greetings, Green Thumb Gardening family. I'd like to unleash back at you from right here at the Green Thumb Gardening family, right here in Grove Zone 8B in Tifton, Georgia. And in today's video, I'm going to be sharing with you guys how we go about propagating rose cuttings in sand. Rose cuttings, although a lot of people have issues with rooting rose cuttings are very easy to root. It's all about using the right grow medium and the right amount of humidity when it comes to rooting rose cuttings. Now we have approximately 24 knockout rose cuttings that were donated to our nursery from a friend of ours here near the Tifton, Georgia area. Here we have 3 trays here with a total of I think of about 20 sections, individual sections in these trays. We want to use these individual trays here to pot these 20, 23, 24 rose cuttings in. I've already taken the liberty of preparing these, the majority of these cuttings. But what I'm going to do here, I saved one cutting for this purpose of this video to show you guys how I go about preparing each individual cutting for the propagation process. At this point, I'm going to get my camera set up here on my tripod, try to get you guys in here as close as possible, show you guys how I go about propagating, preparing that last cutting for propagation, and then I'll show you guys how we go about planting those cuttings in this soil, some using rooting hormone and some without rooting hormone, to show you guys that it's not necessary to use rooting hormone when rooting most types of cuttings in sand. Other grow mediums, yes, like cocoa coir, peat moss, and all of that crap, you may require rooting hormone when using those types of grow mediums to propagate cuttings in, but not sand. Sand is typically pretty sterile, doesn't have all of those things in it that makes cuttings rot during the propagation process. So again, we're using sand for this particular grow experiment. Again, we're going to use rooting hormone on some of our cuttings. We're not going to use rooting hormones on the other cuttings. We'll tell you which guys and gals out there which cuttings we use that rooting hormone on and which ones we didn't. And we'll show you guys the propagation process of these cuttings over the next 30 to 40 days here at the Green Thumb Gardening channel. Hang tight. All right. I'm going to grab this last cutting here that I saved for you guys to show you guys how we go about propagating these rose cuttings. First of all, I'm going to remove the thorns from this cutting because it's not a pleasant experience in any way getting stuck by rose thorns. They're very painful when you get stuck by them. But there's an easy way to remove the cuttings from the thorns from rose cuttings during the propagation process or prior to propagating your cuttings. And the simplest way to do that, gloves are not really required to remove the thorns from rose cuttings. You just simply want to place your finger against the thorn on the side and push it to the side. Those thorns will snap right off, as you see. Not getting stuck here. I'm removing these thorns with my bare hands. Again, a very easy thing. I'm not suggesting to any of you guys and gals out there to not use gloves when removing thorns from your cuttings. Just saying that it's not necessary. We're going to remove all of these bottom leaves from this cutting. We're doing that because beneath each one of these leaves is actually a new bud waiting to sprout out. Those buds typically won't sprout as long as the leaf is left on the plant. That's why a lot of rose bushes in your garden or in your yard, you'll have these ugly looking leaves hanging on. They'll turn yellow and brown and all of that crap, and no new growth will come out until the actual old leaf falls from your plant. So if you want to get new growth on your rose bushes mid-season and not looking all that healthy, trust me, your rose bushes will love you for simply removing those old leaves and allowing it to put that same energy that it was putting into keeping those old leaves alive into growing new foliage. As you guys can see, I'm pretty much stripping this cutting because we don't need any of this old foliage. That's not what we're here for. That old foliage will not turn back green or begin to grow once again. And another thing when it comes to rose cuttings is there's a common misconception that taking a rose cutting anywhere along a growth node is the best place to take a rose cutting and it's most likely to root, and that's not necessarily true. I found here at the Green Thumb Gardening channel, when it comes to rooting rose cuttings, instead of taking a rose cutting along a growth node that you see here, where this node is this bud is about to come out, I take my rose cuttings at growth rings. Growth nodes are typically on a rose cutting on rose bushes are only on one side of the cutting on one side of the stem, whereas a growth node, as a growth ring, goes all the way around the cutting. You're far more likely to get roots to form along growth rings on rose cuttings as opposed to growth nodes on rose cutting. And that's one of the reasons why a lot of y'all people out there who attempt to root rose cuttings, your cuttings fail because you're taking them along a growth node as opposed to a growth ring. Another thing to remember is the best type of cutting to take from your rose bushes, regardless to what time of the year it is. Take your rose cuttings from your rose bushes below where blossoms have already opened up and dried up. These are the best cuttings. As you can see, below those dried up blossoms, you have growth bud after growth bud after growth bud after growth bud. Same thing here. So you definitely want to take your cuttings below blossoms that have already come and gone on your rose bushes. Now at this point, this cutting is ready for us to get a little rooting hormone on, or get directly into the soil. We've already cut this growth ring at a 45-degree angle, as you guys can see here. It's already cut at a 45-degree angle. Scoring this cutting along the growth ring is not necessary. All that crap you hear in a lot of videos is not necessary. This is all you need here. You can apply rooting hormone if you want. It's not necessary. I'm going to show you guys that here in this video. At any rate, and get this cutting over in here. Again, we have, let's see here, 3, 6, 9, 12, 14, 16, 18, 20, 22. We have a total of 24 trays, and I think we have a total of either 23 or 24 cuttings here. So we're going to start by putting one cutting in each of these sections in these trays here. I'm going to get you guys in here as close as I can get in here. We have our trusty garden safe take root rooting hormone. We use this rooting hormone for a lot of things. Again, most things that we root here at the Green Thumb Garden channel, we don't use rooting hormone on, because there's a way to root virtually every type of cutting naturally without using rooting hormone. Typically we use rooting hormone on things that's hard to root or stubborn about rooting, or cuttings that we have that are viable cuttings that's just really taking a long time to root. We may use a little bit of this rooting hormone on. We know that rose cuttings for some people can be stubborn, so for those of you who use rooting hormone, we're going to use rooting hormone in this video here. And again, this is garden safe. You guys can see that I have this anywhere close to the camera. This is the garden safe take root rooting hormone. We've been using this forever. There's only a little bit left in this bag. So we're gonna start here on this side here. I'm gonna get my Jesus sandals out of this video if I possibly can. I'm gonna start with random cuttings. It doesn't matter. All of these cuttings I've already prepared. This tray, I'm gonna use rooting hormone in all of these. I think there's again 12 different sections in this tray, and again we have a total of 24 trays, so we'll use rooting hormone on all of these and no rooting hormone on all of those over there, and we'll again bring you guys along and show you the results as time goes on here. I'm gonna simply start by grabbing a cutting, random cutting. Now we're shaking away as much of the moisture from these cuttings as we possibly can before applying our rooting hormone, because we don't want a big glob of our rooting hormone on the tip of our cutting before we put it in the soil. We only need a fine amount of this rooting hormone on the tip of our cutting. I'll show you guys this here. Make sure I'm getting this in the frame, but see, you guys see that? It's only a very light dusting of rooting hormone on this cutting. We're going to simply take our cutting. Now, hope I have you guys in the frame. Yeah, I have you guys in the frame pretty much. And we're going to press our cutting down in this soil to about the third growth node or growth ring here on this cutting here. Now again, we're using sand for this propagation experiment because we know that sand is well draining. matter how much water we apply to our cuttings during the propagation experiment, we cannot overwater our cuttings because water will drain straight through sand. Sand will hold enough moisture to allow our cuttings to propagate, but you can never overwater your cuttings when you're propagating them in sand because, again, water will run directly through sand. Now, we're not going to bore you guys with the entire process of potting up all of these cuttings. You guys saw how I potted this first cutting. We're going to get this entire tray set up. I'll bring you guys back and show you how they look in the this container. We'll go ahead and get those set up over there, and I'll bring you guys back at the end of this video and show you guys what the entire section of trays look like with the rose cuttings with that we're going to use rooting hormone on, and the ones that we're not going to use rooting hormone on. Hang tight. All right, Green Thumb Gardening family, we're back. Here in this tray, this a quarter over here in this container, we have a total of 12 of the knockout rose cuttings that we showed you at the beginning of this video. We did indeed use rooting hormone with those 12 knockout rose cuttings. We're not going to use rooting hormone on the 12 cuttings that we're going to plant in these last 12 trays over here. I'm going to bring you guys back at the end of this video. We'll show you guys what all 24 of our knockout rose cuttings look like nestled in these 24 containers here. Hang tight. All right, Green Thumb Gardening family, we're back, and this is what our 24 knockout rose cuttings are looking like. Currently planted in sand in these individual trays. Again, these are the cuttings, these 12 cuttings. We used rooting hormone on these 12 cuttings. These 12 cuttings on this side, we didn't use rooting hormone. Now, we won't be watering these cuttings from above or below during this rooting process. Our sand is completely saturated. What we will be doing is covering our rose cuttings with a clear plastic bag to create a humidity dome over our cuttings during the rooting process. And we'll come out, if necessary, from time to time with a spray bottle and mist the inside of the humidity dome to keep our cuttings moist here in this tray. But for the most part, we would not be adding any more water to what we already have here. Our humidity dome will hold the amount of water that we have in here without the majority of it evaporating during the next 30 to 45 days, so forth, so on. And the excess water in this sand will simply drain out into this container here below, and if necessary, it'll be whipped back up by this soil into the containers by the plants if necessary. At any rate, our 24 knockout rose cuttings, again, this is day 1 of this propagation experiment, and we'll bring you guys back within the next 7 to 10 days, the very first sign that we see of new growth forming from our growth buds here on our cuttings. Thanks for watching, and if you are watching this video on rooting knockout rose cuttings in sand, and you are not already subscribed to the Green Thumb Gardening channel, please take a moment to press the subscribe button beneath this video, the like button, the notification button, and be sure to share this video with your friends and family as well. Thanks for watching.